picky eating wasn't allowed to get started. I think some of the picky eating's gotten worse because I could have developed a grilled cheese sandwich habit that would have been really bad. And we always had sit-down meals. I think the lack of sit-down meals where the food is put in front of the kid is making it worse. This problem seems to have gotten worse. It's not gotten better. I talked to a school nurse who got a nonverbal girl who would only eat Cheetos to eat. And she took her in the cafeteria, put a sandwich on a plate, on a tray, put it in front of her, and she dumped it on the floor. So then she just waited, and she said, okay, now you can pick that up now and put it in the garbage. Next day, it went on the floor again. She didn't yell and scream. She said, okay, you can pick that up now and put it in the garbage. Now, about by the fourth or fifth day, she'd tolerate it sitting in front of her for a few seconds, and she lengthened the time that it would sit in front of her. And by the end of the month, she started eating some of the stuff. And this was a school nurse that did that. And all the professional teachers are going, oh, she's impossible to teach. Well, the school nurse finally had her going through the cafeteria line and eating reasonable amounts of things. But I think some of it is we're not sitting down at the table and just sitting there with the stuff in front of you. I'm not going to say that's all the reason, but I think these problems seem to be worsening. They don't seem to be getting better. To get through college when I couldn't do algebra, thank goodness in '67, algebra was not the national required norm. We had the educational fad of finite math, matrices, probability, and statistics. That saved me. Had to be tutored, but I was able to get through that.
I was wondering what you thought about community college versus a university
I think sometimes community college would be a really good idea. I went to a small college. I went in on probation because my GRE scores, the SAT scores were horrible. And there was maybe 25 students in a class. So I think for a lot of kids, taking the first 2 years in a community college is a really good idea, and just make sure the credits are going to transfer over to the state university. When I went to Arizona State for my master's, I watched these freshmen lining up to go in these big, horrible math classes and English classes with 500 students in a class. And I thought about, I would have just been lost in that. Now, graduate school, you don't have those big classes at a big university. It's only in the first 2 years that you have those big, gigantic classes. So for a lot of students, it'd probably be a real good thing to do. But they also need to be working. See, sometimes we get so much into the academics. I'm seeing kids graduate with a PhD in philosophy, they've never had a job. I was doing a lot of work stuff while I was in graduate school. I was painting that silly sign. But you see, that I was learning some work skills. I sold that sign and then I painted it. That's learning work skills. And I'd rather have a kid take a little less credits at the community college, also be holding down a part-time job, so that we've got to avoid this like jumping off the cliff, so that by the time they graduate from college, they've done enough work stuff, they've built up a portfolio, it's not a shock. Because ultimately we want to get them self-supporting. And what makes me really upset is I'm seeing individuals that from my generation would have gone out and gotten jobs because of the more structured way that society was.